All right, so my name is Rachel Kaplowitz-Cantrell, and I'm an assistant professor of teaching in the English department, and I'm one of the CAP mentors in the CAP program. So I've just been talking about some tips for TAs and anybody really as far as grading and other classroom issues. So today we're going to talk about grading a little bit. Yeah, I think grading is one of the most intimidating parts of being an English teacher because, essays just take time. So my biggest tip just to approach it overall is to definitely try to take it piece by piece, right? Try to do 5 a day or whatever your magic number is. Just don't, you're going to get overwhelmed if you let it pile up. So try to just do a little bit at a time. I know it's hard not to procrastinate, but when you look at 25, even 50 essays, if you have 2 classes, I mean, that's a lot. So you've got to just take it, a little bit at a time. Some strategies I use is I give more feedback on the rough draft, which I find really helpful. And I'll talk in a minute what kind of feedback I give. But I tend to give more written feedback on the rough draft. And then for the final essay, I tend to just, the revised essay, I tend to just look over the revisions and give more of a short summary and a grade. So I find that helps me with time management because I'm sort of splitting my grading, like I'm doing the feedback on one draft and then the grade, figuring out the grade on the other draft, because the rough draft is usually a completion grade. And I think that's really helpful for the students too, to get more feedback as they're still working on the paper. And then on the final paper, don't worry about giving too much feedback because they're done with it. They're really, most of them aren't going to keep working on their essays, right? Once they get a grade. So some of the kind of feedback I give, I definitely try to do, some people call it like the compliment sandwich, where you have a good comment and then a more negative comment and then a good comment, right? So say something positive that they did and then say something they could work on and then end with something positive. So I definitely try to do that. I start my feedback saying, hey, you did a great job, overall on, sort of the content and structure. And then I give some things they can work on. And then I finish with, sort of summarizing, overall, you did great work. Even if it wasn't the best work, I try to find something positive to say about it. Like, I could tell you put a lot of effort into this, or, you had a lot of great examples or whatever. To be more specific, I honestly go through each of the parts of the paper when I give my rough draft feedback. It's pretty thorough. So I will actually go comment on the introduction, body paragraphs, and conclusion. And so I'll say, and I'll do that compliment sandwich for each part. So I'll say, in your introduction, you had some really great, interesting attention grabbers, but your thesis was unclear, right? And then, just expand it a little bit. And then I'll go to the body and I'll say, oh, I could really see your main points in there, but you're missing that analysis that's going to help explain why that's important, So I make sure to constantly give positive and negative as I go through, or constructive as I go through the essay. And then, like I said, I sort of summarize overall and try to put it on a positive note. Like, you've done some great work here. You just need to do some more revision, for your final draft. I do that in the comments on Canvas and the speed grader, how there's the comments area. So I write out those comments, as sentences, like in little paragraphs. But then on the document, I do make some little notes. So I might write like, great title and, good thesis here. So sort of like shortened versions of the longer version. So, and if I do notice a lot of grammar errors, I'm not going to mark every error, but I might say there's a lot of run-ons in this paragraph or in the whole essay, right? If their formatting is really off, I'll say, you need MLA formatting, and then they can see me if they want more help with that. So I make, sort of abbreviated notes on the document, which I usually do when I first read it. And then I sort of expand that in the comments section to explain a little more what I meant on each part of their paper. And then again, try to summarize it overall. I always address them by name and sign my name. So it's almost like a little letter. So, hopefully they could tell. And I tell them in class that I put a lot of thought into their feedback. So it's really important that they read that and that they take it into consideration. They don't have to do exactly what I say word for word, but I am trying to guide them towards revision because they may not know how to do revision, right? So I emphasize in class, like, please read my feedback. It takes me a lot of time to do that. I tell them that, guilt trip them a little bit. This takes me a lot of time to read through your papers and give you some thoughtful feedback. So please, take it into consideration and do some substantive revisions. Because the whole point of 1010 and 1020, I think one of the biggest points is to teach them the writing process so that they don't just approach writing as a one and done thing where they're never going to improve, right? So I think that's really important. Let's see, other tips as far as homework. So that covers the major essays, the rough drafts and the essays. As far as homework, that could be overwhelming if you grade everything they do every day, right? I use this ambiguous term. I say, this is part of your participation grade because I have an attendance participation grade as 10%. So every work we do in class, I tell them it counts as part of their participation grade, but I don't grade every day, right? Even if I have them do writing in class, I tell them to pass it up unless they need to keep it. If they need to keep it, I just say, this is for you to work on, But if they don't need to keep it, I say, okay, I'm going to collect this at the end of class because it makes them do it, think that it's important because it is. And so I tell them, as part of your participation grade, and I never show them their participation grades. I mean, they get an attendance participation grade at the end, but it's mostly attendance because if they're in class, they're usually doing their work. So what I do is I actually pick 10 activities throughout the semester. They're 15 weeks, so it's about one a week, not counting breaks and holidays. And I do actually give a grade on that. I do 20 points, so it adds up to 100. Is that right? 10, or is it? Anyway, I forget the math, but whatever it adds up to, maybe it's 2,200. Anyway, so I pick 10 throughout the semester, and then I give them a little grade. And so then they know that I am reading the activities we do in class. I give really brief comments on that, like, great work, thoughtful responses. It might be like the reflections we do on the essays or, different writing activities I have for them, on the discourse community or the literacy narrative or whatever. So I just pick some of those to grade and I do hand those back. So they see I am reading their work, but then the other days I don't grade it. I just throw them in the trash. I mean, I might look through it and see that everyone's learning, and then I'm not going to hold on to all that paper, So really, I think it's just important that they overall get a sense that you are reading their work, you care about their work, and also that it's important. It's not just busy work, right? So you have to kind of make them think that without actually giving yourself too much grading to do, because you can't grade every single thing they write. You'll go crazy with that many students, right? So yeah, just learn how to, where you need to kind of skim or where, you don't need to grade every word as far as homework and stuff like that. So so just try not to be intimidated by grading. Just you develop your own strategies, kind of like we tell our students to, right? Do you like to grade, on the weekends, in the evenings, in the morning, when you just have a free moment here and there? If I go to the doctor's office, I literally bring my grading with me or my computer, or if I have homework grades, and I'll just do it when I'm waiting, right? Because even just doing a little bit here and there, it really helps to get it done. It just kind of chips away. So yeah, just develop your own strategies and kind of stick with it, and that'll help you approach it, I think. Yeah.